Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back. And if this is your first time coming, I hope you'll find the content valuable for any role playing system, or you find even more curiosity and interest in the Trinamic Fantasy Adventure role playing system that you'll end up subscribing, or become a member on my website. So let's talk about skills. Does a system need skills if it already has traits? Does the system need skills at all, or traits at all? So if we look at old school Renaissance style games, they had just traits. And this made a simple rule sheet to look at that basically defined parts of a person's body or mind in some way. Whereas when we go to skills, they end up being more job or task oriented. When we use both together, they can help define the concept of a character and help play it out mechanically. And this has a lot of benefit, for the player, and potentially pose new challenges and interests for the game master, or what I prefer, the adventure master, to apply in the situation. In the Trinamic system, we actually use both. So a player can end up having traits only, or can have skills, and they can have any combination of them. By being a modular system, this is easy to accommodate. It also makes sense. Most systems actually could be modified to allow for this, so a player doesn't have to look at having everything on their sheet. So how do I do this? As a game master, I would end up calling for a skill set check, but I don't necessarily call it the skill itself. I would just call for a certain trait. So if the players are in the woods and they're up on the trees, and they're going to take some actions, or there's a huge windstorm or hurricane coming and the branches are really blowing, I would end up calling for an agility check. So the OSR style player knows exactly where to go on their sheet. There's not much to look at. It's one thing. They know what to roll. Let's assume that these three players I'm going to talk about are all +0. So the OSR player is +0 to their roll. When we go to the second player, they would end up challenging back to me that says, hey, I have acrobatics on my sheet. Can I roll that? And I might allow for that's enough, that, I constitute and see the judgment as acrobatics. However, I might look for more information than that. Be like, well, how are you going to use acrobatics, to stay on these trees? And they're like, well, as I start to slip off a branch, I can end up grabbing another branch and using it to swing around onto another branch. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a great way to solve the problem. I'll let you use your acrobatics. And while their trait is 0, they may have acrobatics +3, so their value is +3. So the OSR style is +0, and this other player is +3. Now we can go to what I do in my system, which is also allow a player to further define a skill. So they can choose acrobatics, but then say, I'd like to actually focus on balance. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I see balance working as part of acrobatics. And so here they might take acrobatics as +1, but then they turn around and get +8 for the balance score. So now they have to justify how they're balancing on a tree branch. But this is kind of common. Anything small that somebody would have to balance on, it's almost like a tightrope, or a swaying bridge. They have to maintain their balance, or some wobbly surface. So easy enough. So I have 3 players now. I have an OSR that is +0 for their roll. I have the second player that just had acrobatics, and they're +3. And then now I have the other person who's +8. So they've really gotten to play out the character they wanted to design. Now we can further take this into what was their backstory, what was the classing of their characters. And so a person that chose balance, maybe they did it because they did justify something in their backstory, or maybe not. But if they did justify in their backstory and said, oh, I'm from a circus, and then my character is also a rogue, now I can stack multiple things together and just let the game flow and say, you know what, I don't need you to roll. I'm just going to let you succeed. And then the other players, I go ahead and have them roll. Maybe the OSR style player character is a simple person. They're not used to role playing, and then say, oh, my backstory was circus. And I say, okay, well, we'll just let you not roll and everybody else can roll. Because you want to challenge people on where they're at in their gaming play style and what they can achieve. Some people are great role players and they can come up with a lot of information and a lot of challenges back. But some struggle and want it more like a game and just some simple thing to go through until they learn more and become better at it. So ultimately, this is all we want to do is just further how much fun can somebody have at the table? And what does it matter that one person doesn't have a skill listed on their sheet? You know, the OSR player here, you know, is so simplistic, but it doesn't matter because the people who want more complexity, either going for acrobatics or for acrobatics balance, they got to do that as well and further their character. The modular character creation system has a point progression system in it, so it maintains balance as it goes. This is kind of the beauty of the system. If you find it pretty interesting, again, please subscribe. Consider becoming a free member on my website. When you do that, you can also access the library and you can get more free content. Eventually, I will have a demo short book of the game available for people. So I will end up emailing all those and letting them know. And at some point, I'll post a YouTube video. So if you're following me in some way, you're going to find out about that. And that should be coming pretty soon. Thanks a lot for checking me out. Adventure well.